Hello, everybody. As part of the 2021 Insurtech Global Outlook launch, we are pleased to lead one of the roundtables to delve into the most relevant topics for the insurance industry. The Global Outlook report analyzed the impact of insurtechs from different perspectives, covering new forms of value chain, the arrival of new business models, and insurers' investments into the insurance ecosystem. I am Nadia Alikar. I am an IT advisor for insurance, and today I will be the moderator of the debate that will focus on the change in the life and health insurance business. At NTT Data, we are delighted to have top-level executives with us today to share their thoughts about this topic. So I welcome Joan Cusco, Global Health Head of Transformation, Mafra Spain. I welcome Alexandre Puccini, Digital Transformation, Innovation and Advantage Analytic Director for Sul America Seguros Brasil. And I welcome Oliver Harrison, Chief Executive Officer from COA Health Spain. And finally, I welcome Dr. Xenia Isabel Pope, Director of Insurtech Europe, Plug and Play, Germany. So the concept of ecosystems is not new. They represent the collaboration of different companies to provide complementary products and services. What has changed is the speed of connection and the application of technology. The year of 2020 has witnessed the movement from a stage of mere digitalization to a totally native digital era. New products, services, and new business models emerge within the ecosystem due to the digital customer journey. We have identified 4 major ecosystems: smart mobility, that encompass all mobility aspects from care sharing, autonomous cars, and telematics to logistics and travel. Health living, covering healthcare, life, financial planning, mental health, aging, and integrated care. Home, as an extension of the work environment as a place for entertainment. And finally, business shield, encompassing data protection, cybersecurity, business continuity, and professional liability. In 2020, the level of investment reached around $6 billion, which represents a decrease of only 6.25% when compared with 2019. The number of deals, however, declined 36%. The concentration of funding is not only evidence of the industry maturity, but also of its preference for strategic investment over risk bets. In 2020, health living ecosystem is the one that received the most funds, 32% of total. The COVID-19 has accelerated this line of business due to the increased attention to healthcare and social distancing. The investment received by health sector has increased almost 100% when compared with the 2 last years. It is amazing to realize that just 3 companies received more funds than the total combined sum raised by all other companies. So the health market is starting to boom all around the world. Unlike the sector of mobility, where they appear to have more global players, the health sector is more regulated by country and region. So there are more local players applying different strategies and business models. In Europe, AI technology is being extensively applied to enhance value chain. The US has a good harvest as some important health insurtechs are preparing for the IPO. The service of financial planning is becoming popular with life insurers. Chinese tech giants like Ali Health and JD Health are investing large amounts in the health sector. They are accelerating the business models of medicine delivery, online inquiry, and digital health. There is a clear convergence between the life and health areas with complementary products, services, and relevant partnerships. Gartner forecasts $81.5 billion worldwide spent on wearable devices. In 2020, the Latin America telemedicine market value reached $1.6 billion. For instance, during COVID-19 pandemic, telemedicine appointments in Colombia tripled in just 1 month. People's mental health has been seriously affected by 23% of people have had poor mental health stage during the pandemic, compared to only 80% previous COVID. So the health insurers are trying to reach more customers through a partnership with lifestyles company to increase customer liability and to gain data to better understand customers and also for research and development. So moving on from this brief overview, let's start discussing the evolution of health and life products in the next few years. So to get started, I would like to address my first question to Alexandre Puccini and Oliver Harrison. So there are some successful insurers providing extra services to make the life insurance more tangible. For instance, the reward programs introduced by Vitality, solutions focus on parents and family, like the ones developed by Fabric, and AXA putting mental health at the top of the health agenda. So, what do you think is the next generation of life and health products is going to be like?
Well, thank you, Nadia, for a very good question. Actually, we have seen a giant disruptive change in health and life, particularly. Just regarding your question and putting focus on these two business, but of course, several expectations are changing quickly. Sharing with you here in SulAmérica Insurance, beyond the isolated services or products, we are providing a new point of view, a new offering. We are providing digital experience end-to-end. I mean, the balance between digital and physical or personal customer service, always respecting the customer's preference. This is the reason why we don't say only digital. We are focusing on physical. So respecting, again, the customer's preference. So the more we have advanced to this target, the more and more we are evaluating results and investing and reinvesting in the right ways or solutions. So we are first of all discovering and understand the pain points, establishing the hypothesis, and after that we invest in the right way or ways. Well, I'm talking about to listen to the customer and other stakeholders to state appointments in order to deliver a new experience aligned to their experience or preference and our strategies. Well, by the way, we are positioned as a comprehensive health company that takes care of physical, mental, and financial health. To give you some samples about our position and offering, we have a smart screening to drive customers to services and health programs, such as COVID-19, and depending on the results, he will be directed to a doctor or a therapist, as a psychologist on the screen. And during the medical consultation, it is possible to get a prescription totally digital, or to have a doctor visiting him in the house, or a quick direction to the hospital and to continue the procedure. So this is our position about not only one product or services, but to offer a balance between physical, mental, and financial service. We have models and algorithms using AI in evolution day by day to predict some illness, for example. We call this initiative by population stratification. So we want to provide health in time to be avoided complex disease in the future. Or in other hand, to suggest physical, emotional, or financial service in our health programs. So we are really positioning ourselves as a company based on a coordination of care, and less as product of unconnected line of business, more to understand the real needs from the street, from our customers and the business partner. This is a summary about what I'm seeing ahead and how the products will be in the future.
Well, that's great, Alexandre. Thank you very much. What about you, Oliver? Could you help us see how products are going to be?
Well, Nadia, thank you for the question. It's an excellent question. And thank you also for the really great summary at the start. And Alexander, also for your excellent answer to the question. Look, today, the marketplace for digital health products is crowded, confusing, and frankly, full of a lot of snake oil. At COA, we see three big trends. The first is for simplicity, and Alexander touched on this, bringing together applications to create a unified service offering. The second is impact, and the third is cost effectiveness. So let me take those one by one. So first, simplicity. So according to IQVIA today, there are more than 300,000 health apps available on app stores around the world. Users are confused, employers are confused, insurers are confused. It's hard to know exactly which one to pick. In addition, many insurers are offering bouquet offerings of a combination of different apps. But the challenge is that those products don't talk to each other, and they don't often integrate with healthcare data systems or with insurer data systems. This creates data silos and ultimately service silos, which don't benefit the patient or the user, the customer, the commercial client, or the insurer themselves. And it leaves the customer scrambling around between these data silos in order to join up the proposition around real needs. So it's unsurprising that when we look at employee assistance programs, for example, there's only 3 to 5% uptake for people, even in a year as challenging as the last year. At COA, we believe that it's really important that benefits are simple. For that reason, we can deep link our technology into third-party applications, and integrate our data with data systems, healthcare data systems, electronic medical records, with insurer data systems, and so on. And the technical architecture to do that is actually widely adopted, for example, in fintech. So let me give you an example. So our wellbeing solution foundations can link users with sleep problems with a sleep counseling service, either by telephone or an online service. We see simplicity as a really important trend. Second, impact. Does the solution that I bought actually work? Does it deliver what it says it's going to deliver? Unfortunately, only 2% of digital health applications out in the market today have any evidence base at all. And where they do have evidence base, it's typically very weak. Many of them are built by teams that don't have a single clinician or a single expert on the team. We see an increasing demand for customers, for corporate clients, and for insurers to really be able to demonstrate the effectiveness of a solution through proper research studies. So at COA, we've invested very heavily in working with the key opinion leaders within mental health to take one domain. And we've got more than 30 research publications. We think that evidence base is increasingly important. And finally, cost effectiveness. increasingly we see users wanting to track their own progress in using an application, not just on how many times have I used the application, sort of internal reference data, but in terms that actually make sense to them, or meaningful to them in their lives and the goals they're trying to achieve. We also see B2B clients wanting to track the impact against return on investment. And we see insurers playing an important role in harvesting that data and offering that as part of their offering. We see just an important trend in being able to demonstrate return on investment and interesting in business models which combine paying for the application itself, but also paying for the results. So a bifurcation into a two-part tariff where we pay for inputs and also pay for outcomes. So finally, it's great to see insurers taking an interest in building these portfolio solutions and building the enabling technology for that. But there is competition coming. On your previous slide, you had Movistar Salud, our previous parent company, Telefonica, creating an offering which is a direct-to-consumer offering as a telco. We have retailers on the high street moving beyond bricks and mortar to build service companies, and a lot of interest in becoming that important front door for individuals to look after their well-being and their health before the need for primary care. So I would say it's important to move quickly and important to be very clear on the outcomes which you're looking for.
Well, definitely. Thank you very much for your answer. Wow, I took some notes. Very good. Thank you. Now, I would love to hear Joanne and Dr. Shania. And as we have seen, the health living ecosystem received the highest amount of investment in 2020. Therefore, there is enormous attraction for investors to new models of life and health, especially from VCs, but also from tech giants, telecom, pharma, and even insurers, right? So, Joanne, as an insurer, what is your strategy for investing in this kind of insurtech?
Well, that's a very good question too, and I'm glad that Alexander and Oliver mentioned a few of the challenges we're facing as an insurance company. So we see that the market is more and more polarized. Of course, there's a huge offering right now. We have an eclosion, especially in the health and life ecosystem, but we're seeing like tech giants are entering into the car manufacturing scene because we understand that probably the ones building cars will be the ones holding the key to that platform. We see telcos entering the home care space because they are already part of our homes and they also have the key, in this case, almost literally, to get into our homes and become a platform for that. And we see this race between the tech giants themselves, but also pharmaceuticals, insurance, and I would say also the big health providing groups, especially in the US, trying to become this front door, as Oliver said, to this first tier of service around health, well-being, and the lives to come, let's say. We as an insurance company want to be part of that game. We want to position ourselves as a specialist, and we know that, but we want to be part also of this platform game, at least for specific markets. And then we are using both partnerships, research, and investments to tackle the ecosystem and to build as fast as possible, just as Oliver was saying, these new relationships and to find, let's say, the trust of our customers for things that were not in our scope before, like trying to help people sleep better. As an insurance company, we would help people that would come to our medical centers when they have been not sleeping properly, maybe for months, and they have a disease now. We are entering the part of prevention, but also not preventing the huge things that might come for which insurance companies used to be there, but also the day-to-day well-being. And that's very interesting. And it's a shift in perspective, as Alexander was saying as well. So we are partnering with a number of startups and we are offering them in B2C mode through our own non-insurance health services platform, Savia, here in Spain, and in B2B and in B2B2C modes through Mafre assistance in Latin America and in other geographies. And we are also investing through our partner fund, Alma Mundi Insurtech, in startups that are super interesting and relevant for us, such as Coa Health, represented here, and that will bring probably not only the next generation of services, but also the next generation of care, of companionship, which is the sort of intimate relationship that insurers and banks as well have been trying to build for years now.
Well, great. Thank you. Now, Dr. Shania, how do you select an insurer or an investor to partner with?
So thank you, Nadia, for asking the question. I'm happy to take this. I mean, we as Plug and Play are investing in startups for over 15 years. So we also have quite a solid background and experience in startup investment, especially in the Insurtech as well as healthcare investment space, whether it's with startups like Hippo or Slice Labs or Lobis. So it's very, very interesting to see how the trends develop over time and how our strategy of investing in these type of insurtech and startups developed. You gave some very impressive examples earlier with Bright Health and Oscar Health, like these massive investment rounds. I think examples like Dr. Lib already in 2019, but also the fundraising of Alain and the just recently announced raise of Noom, actually a weight loss startup with like $540 million US is so impressive. I think it's the VC's like largest digital health deal as far as I see it. And it's clear this is a continuing trend we definitely will want to be part of. We usually take multiple perspectives into account. One is a very classic like investors or venture capital perspective, where we say, okay, we would love to invest in new business models, although insurance is usually very similar. It's like brokerage, MGAs or full stack insurance. It's rather about new value propositions probably we are interested in. And most of the health and insurtech startups are really trying to build an ecosystem offering. Both Oliver, Alexander, and Juan all touched upon this. It's like this holistic offering that sees the customer as a center of everything, and then multiple services are there to facilitate their journey through their health and lifetime. So we really look into and see a lot of investment opportunities there, and see how health and insurtech startups again are trying to build rather ecosystem offerings. Which is mainly driven by it probably increased healthcare costs and expenditure. Life expectancy is also a driver that pushes us in more and more health and insurtech investments. And then, as Juan mentioned, the need for prevention and really creating a sustainable healthcare system is a driver for all these health startups we are selecting for investments. And these drivers are really reflected in a lot of emerging health insurance companies when they're focusing on providing patient management systems or risk and population health analytics. Electronic data exchange, like exchanging data is the key, I think, in all the developments. And this is basically the trends we are following.
Well, great. Thank you very much. Now, our report presents some of the investments tech giants are making to expand the use of artificial intelligence in the health field. Amazon, for instance, announced in late 2020 the launch of a new tool which enables healthcare organizations to standardize data. In Asia, Baidu plans to launch an investment of $2 billion into disease diagnosis using artificial intelligence techniques. So, Joan and Alexander, how do you see these companies and new tools entering the markets like Latin America, where data is not so structured and processes are still so manual?
Definitely a challenge, not only in Latin America, also in more mature countries and markets. We have a challenge of finding data gaps, not only when data is not well structured, when data is not even there because we didn't think it was valuable enough to store it for years. There are different strategies we're following now. The first and the most basic one is, if you don't find the data, you need to gather it yourself, or you need to create it yourself. So we both partner with startups and universities and research centers, with startups that have models that maybe part of the models are not being monetized yet, but the data they are gathering about lifestyle, about the user needs and so on is valuable to us. And it's not that we're purchasing the data and using it. It's just that the service they are providing is valuable to us itself. And the data we extract are insights from our customers. And they are a part of this prevention stage that help us understand which is the relationship between being healthy in a modern way, and I will explain later, and what means not being ill in a later stage. And by being healthy in a modern way, I mean that being healthy in 2021 is not the same than being healthy in the 50s, in the last century. So for our parents and grandparents, being healthy was just not being ill. So the absence of illness was being healthy. Today, for us, being healthy means having the lifestyle you desire to be fulfilled as a person. And this goes beyond the absence of illness. It has to be with what you are able, what you feel mentally able to do, and how you relate with others, and so much more. So we more and more see that these startups entering maybe more mature markets because they think that the value and the money is there. We help them enter Latin America because maybe the money will come later, but data will come from day zero. That's the first strategy. Second strategy is to create data on research labs, let's say. So we are helping a couple of universities, specifically in Latin America, that wanted to work with different governments to use advanced analytics models to exploit the data they had, etc., etc. They found the data was not in the highest quality, or maybe it was not there anymore. And we are working with them to create these living labs in specific cities to make sure that what we want to gather, and sorry, I cannot provide many details because some of them are not public yet, but to make sure that what they want to gather can be created, even if it's in sort of a laboratory or a fake scenario. But this is the starting point for us to create a relevant data set in the coming years. There are other strategies and new technologies that help us deal with that as well. We have an investment in a UK-based startup called Synthesized, for instance, that help you augment your data sets with synthetic data, which is very helpful to train models. And also we are working, and we have also invested through our venture capital partner fund in a startup called MemGraph, which are creating a new generation of graph databases. And we are seeing that by adding graph technology on top of our machine learning models, we are achieving the extra mile. So even if our data was not complete, or our machine learning models, well, they were somehow successful, but with the addition of graph databases, we are going much farther. The results so far are impressive. So I would encourage anyone here to work on graph databases from now on, because there's a bright future up there.
I would love to see that, Joan, really.
Very soon.
Okay. Alexandre, please, what do you think?
Well, very good question, Nadia. Well, my point of view about not structured data or manual process is a really huge opportunity to players and companies to step forward and to be an advantage in the competitive market. Here in South America, for example, we are managing more than 1 petabyte in our data lake using Google platform. So we are collecting data and transforming it into information for decision-making and better experience, data-driven. That's the very important point. And one of our major strategic initiatives here in South America. So we believe that innovation, digital journeys first, connecting to personal experience, and the advanced analytics is the key to surprise our customers and business partners. I talked in the first question about one case using AI here, and given another one, we are using cognitive artificial intelligence to solve doubts and needs from clients and business partners. For example, the service is based on a natural language process, and the algorithms are able to understand the real needs, connecting data, transforming to information finally, acting back to the customers. I can highlight 2 points of attention here. The first one is privacy. Here in Brazil, we have since last year the LGPD. It's very similar to GDPR in Europe, protecting and establishing rules and mandatory features between customers and services providers. So we are absolutely compliant with the law, and the big challenge is but our point is how to demonstrate to the customer the trade-off between they allow the company to use their data and for what purpose that we want to add value to them. So for me, it's a good balance and the good trade-off to understand and to allow that we use their data back to them. That's the point. Secondly, we have mentioned Amazon. But we have always been aware about FANGA, the tech giants, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Apple. We really recognize and respect their capacity for disruption and investments. So we are building partnerships with them. We really believe that we can join the initiatives and provide the amazing solutions to the customers, to the market. Highlight one case, we are working on interoperability among the entire ecosystem, and we believe in patterns like HL7 protocol using Google Healthcare API. So again, this is one example, using a partnership to improve the good experience in health, for example, and be able to provide at the end of the day an electronic health records, aggregating historic health to physicians and customers, integrating laboratories and health providers, optimizing time, medical procedures, several exams, and medical costs at the end. So this is one example about the real opportunities in digital transformation, minimizing the manual process and improving the experiences that matter, really that matter.
Well, thank you, Alexandre. And indeed, you gave me something for my next question to Oliver and Dr. Shania. That's exactly about privacy. So we have seen an incredible growth in the health and life ecosystems, especially last year. On the other hand, data protection regulations might be a barrier, because solutions can't be global and might be aligned with specific local regulations. So how are insurers preparing to interact with this new ecosystem, and will these ecosystems be able to grow as expected, considering the regulations barriers? So the two experts.
Well, Nadia, it feels like we're tying things together, and actually Alexander and Joanne have given some great examples of how insurers are building ecosystems. So I'm going to start off my answer with a definition of the term. What is an ecosystem, right? And if we look at nature as an example, it's an environment within which different entities are able to interact in a meaningful way, right? So say that. And I think what we see too often in health and Insurtech is silos of data, services which don't join up together. And that means that actually you've got entities that are not interacting. Maybe they are commercially, they're competing for the same opportunities, but they're not interacting in a meaningful way. So the first point I would make is just to echo what Alexander was saying about the importance of the use of standards like HL7, for the exchange of data between customers and also between service providers. I think there are few startups that would try to do everything. So they need to talk to each other to represent the full definition of health and the service expectations of end users. And then in terms of regulation, I think we've done an awful lot of work on HIPAA, GDPR, ISO 27001, ISO 27701, SOC 1, SOC 2. There's nothing to be scared of. These are processes to be worked through. And in fact, what I would say is in Europe, there's a suspicion of HIPAA. In the United States, there's a suspicion of GDPR. The reality is that these are not scary pieces of legislation. They really crystallize good professional practice, how I would want my healthcare data managed by a company that's providing me a service. So what I would say is that startups often don't have the resources to be able to go through those processes, but there's an opportunity perhaps for insurers to collate an ecosystem in a more proactive way by creating a technology platform which enables the interaction, enables the connection of individual services bundled around the needs of the user, the customer, and the client. So for example, we've built back-end architecture for all of our solutions. We have 3 therapeutic solutions and 2 diagnostic solutions that we bundle to a combined offering. And the back-end uses HL7 connectors, it's HIPAA compliant, ISO 27001 compliant, GDPR compliant. It's also got multi-tenanting, which means we can create data silos for individual clients, individual health insurers, and so on. Again, following some of the rules that fintech uses for banking data. I don't want my bank account data shared with your bank account data, but then we can still do meta-analysis on top. So there are ways to architect for those ecosystems. We're increasingly working with third parties that then can plug into our back end and offer their part of the service. So the point I'm making is an ecosystem becomes that definition of a place where services can combine in a meaningful way and offer synergy to the customer and to the client, where you're able to make it easy to make those connections with defined connectors using standard regulation, APIs which are easy to plug into, secure and robust, where we have multi-tenanting and data silos. And we're increasingly getting into this as something of an unusual startup ourselves, because we see so many clients who don't have the knowledge and the expertise to be able to do that. So we're increasingly working with insurers to create that architecture and ecosystem for them, which is an exciting development.
Wow, that's great. So, Dr. Shania?
Thank you very much, Oliver. I loved actually to hear about already the collaborations happening. As mentioned, most of the startups really choose this ecosystem approach of working together with other service providers, with insurance companies. And we are, as Plug and Play, currently conducting for 2 of our clients a really in-depth research on ecosystems and how to build up such an ecosystem as an insurance incumbent. It's really important because despite all the initiatives, I think most of the insurers still act primarily as risk aggregators. They have their passive, like limited relationship with customers, which just increases their exposure to disintermediation. So ecosystems really help insurance companies, no matter whether they are the orchestrator of this ecosystem or just a service plugin or provider in an ecosystem, but really help them to generate a higher visibility and realize a different relationship to their insured. So Oliver mentioned it's happening already. There are architectures in place or setups like IBM working together with insurers to build up a blockchain environment to share health data of patients anonymously. Microsoft working with AXA together to build up a health ecosystem. So like, why do you need those companies? Really, it's about the exchangeability of data, of making that ecosystem so modular, so flexible, as Oliver explained already, like really making it possible to exchange data, to plug in all the different services in such an ecosystem. And I think this plays to your question, or like comes to your question of like how to prepare companies for such an ecosystem approach. I think it's all about raising the awareness or creating the room for such a structure of modularity of such an ecosystem. So players really within an ecosystem must be ready to build a flexible, modular offering that can be shared across multiple environments. Because you, as an insurance company, for example, you can provide value in this and that ecosystem. So it's also cross ecosystems, cross industries, where a modular offering relies most of the time on partnerships with startups that can provide such easy to deploy and plug in services that can be linked to so many offerings. And then these components of the offering can be designed quite independently, yet functioning as an integrated whole. In many cases, the customer can just choose among all these components, and then can combine these based on their needs. One way to support this modularity from our perspective is APIs. We heard this multiple times today. Really key digital tool to enable businesses of different offering and size to collaborate digitally. In many cases, APIs are helpful in speeding up the adoption to new products, but we hear still a lot that APIs, like the API enablement or like usability, the application, the readiness, it's not yet there in insurance companies. They don't have the right interfaces to connect all these solutions and services of such an ecosystem to their legacy system. So this is definitely something all companies need to work on and really need to focus on to move from this early adapter stage of an ecosystem to a majority adoption more quickly. This is, I think, the essential of what we see. It's like really supporting this modularity of ecosystems.
Well, that was great. Well, I think we came to an end. I thank you all very much. It was wonderful for me. It was an incredible opportunity to be with all of you, hear of all of you. And, well, maybe we'll see each other next year. Bye.